We've had quite the rally since our last update in Litecoin. We took off like a rocket, crossed $300 not that long ago, but then we pulled back just as hard. Seems like we stretched the rubber band a little too high up, which is evidenced by our MACD going deep into overbought territory. So what we're left with now is a bit of an unusual arrangement in which it looks like we have two boomerang shapes. This I'm calling a subwave 1 of the larger wave 3, but it does again have an unusual structure to it in which we had this thing go a good bit higher than you'd expect out of a standard third wave, and we've pulled back deeply. So this can't be anything other than the second wave in our pullback. However, based on other cryptocurrencies, especially Ethereum, I'm calling this the vaunted 1-2-1-2 setup, which we'll take a better look at in our big picture logarithmic view. In the near term, you do have another buying opportunity. I keep telling you it's the last opportunity to buy Litecoin. Well, looks like we've been presented yet another opportunity, which again, may be the last opportunity. If this really is the nested 1-2-1-2 setup that we think it is, expect some pretty vigorous rallying. And of course, as prices rise, the risk rises. So dollar cost averaging would be your friend from that point onward. And of course, that is buying a little bit at a time regularly in order to reduce your emotional attachment. Support in the near term sits at 172.86. I would not like us to break that in order to maintain our immediate upside potential. However, if we do break it, our next support below would be the 139.90. That is the major support based on what I'm calling the bottom of our wave 2 of the larger degree. Now, I would like to note that other cryptocurrencies such as Cardano and Ethereum Classic did break lower than what I was calling their own wave 2 pullbacks. So it would not be unprecedented. However, I do not expect to see that in Litecoin or most other cryptocurrencies because we are quite bullish in Bitcoin and Ethereum at this moment. There have been some changes in our big picture logarithmic chart. I've decided to clean things up and reinterpreted the patterns a little bit since our last update. We do have our old green pattern, which calls our original rally back in 2017, 2018, a major wave 1, and then the subsequent 3-wave dip ending in March of 2020 to be the major wave 2. That would call for a very bullish rallying structure. And of course, our blow off we had in May of 2021, earlier this spring, would support that notion. However, in more recent months, our rallying has not been as impressive. So right now, I do see that as a smaller probability. That pattern would take us dramatically higher than we've ever been in Litecoin. I'm going to stash that on the shelf as an alternate pattern. Our primary pattern is, of course, purple. And this purple pattern I am reinterpreting as a diagonal structure. I actually have reinterpreted the most of the altcoins patterns as diagonal patterns. And of course, in Elliott waves, a diagonal pattern is the other motive structure outside of an impulse wave, and it too subdivides into a 5-wave structure. And so far, if we call this the bottom back here in December of 2018, we have a 1 and a 2 on a larger degree, and then our entire rally from the March 2020 bottom to the May 2021 top would be our third wave. Very powerful, very blow-offy. And we had a very deep retrace for the wave 4. And of course, in diagonals, your wave 4, more often than not, will overlap the previous wave 1 peak. And we saw exactly that. The wave 1 topped around 145 and our wave 4 dipped all the way down to the low $100 range. Diagonals tend to follow trend channel lines. So that may give us somewhat of an accurate estimate on the timing of this rally structure. But of course, in Elliott waves, we have pretty strong price targets. Timing is secondary. The timeline you see at the bottom is completely arbitrary. With all that clarified, you can clearly see our nested 1-2-1-2 setup. It does look a little bit prettier on the logarithmic chart because it counts a bit differently. Based on this 1-2 here, I have our Fibonacci extension tool out here, which projects our standard subwave 3 target between 427 and 517. Hitting the lower end of that target would be a 2x return from where we are right now. Expect a long and slow fourth wave correction because fourth waves are slow and sideways generally. This could be a multi-month affair. However, if history is any precedent, we didn't have the longest fourth wave in Litecoin earlier this year. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. If we can hold support there, we are looking at 581 to 703 for our subwave 5 and our ultimate top. And hitting the lower end of that box would give us a nearly 3x return from where we are right now. This is an interesting development in Litecoin, as well as Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. Based on this medium degree 1-2 pattern, you'd expect the subwave 1 to hit somewhere between the 0.382 and the 0.61 extension of that larger 1-2. Well, in this case, we blew off pretty hard. We hit almost the 1.0 extension, which is more typical of the third subwave within the larger subwave 3. If this is indicative of anything, it could mean that we have much higher potentials for our subsequent extensions. That's what these blue boxes are showing. The reason this blue box is here for the subwave 3 is because we do have a strong Fibonacci confluence at the 0.618 extension of the larger degree pattern at around 585. So it would not be surprising to see our subwave 3 hit that target. We have the same situation with our subwave 5. This blue box up top indicates the range that we could get up to. We could go as high as 876 for the subwave 5. And that is, of course, based on a couple of factors. The first of which is when we do look at our rally structure from March of 2022, May of 2021, if we take this here as the 1-2 and extend that out using Fibonacci extensions, we actually blew past the 2.236 extension, almost made it to the 2.382 extension on this rally alone. As Elliott wave patterns can be fractal in nature, our 2.236 extension does put us at that 850 to 950 range, right in there. And of course, there's the 0.764 extension around 880. So that's a triple confluence. There's probably more than that if you dig around enough, but there's a lot of indicators pointing to us hitting that 876 mark. There is a small outside shot. We could get as high as 1697. There's a strong Fibonacci extension up there, but I do not see that as a strong probability at this moment. Just keep in mind that Litecoin, like many other altcoins, does lag behind. So we may underperform or may have some unimpressive rallying initially before we have a final blow off. I would like to note that there is the alternate red pattern. I can't take this off this chart because this is quite convincingly an ABC up. This pattern's calling for the entire correction earlier this year to have been an A wave. And then this has a pretty clean A, B, C structure. It can be very convincingly a corrective bounce upwards or fake out rally. And if that's the case, this could easily be a setup to take us all the way down, well below $100. So I'm not going to take this off the chart because as a good Elliottian, you must have alternate patterns on the chart in order to be able to set your exit strategies. Now, what happens once we get to this subwave 5 top? Well, this is going to be the top of a much larger wave 1. That's what I have marked here. End of an impulse. If we zoom out a bit, big picture, that would be the completion of a rally that started at the end of 2018. So expect this thing to be a colossal crash. This should coincide with the big crash that I expect in Bitcoin and Ethereum. This could end up being a multi-month or even a multi-year consolidation. And of course, it's a wave 2. Wave 2s are deep. And finally, diagonals often precede a powerful reversal. So that alone should be enough reason to consider taking profits at the top, reinvesting into stable coins or other asset classes. Once that bear market starts, that would be possibly a great generational investing opportunity, not just in Litecoin, but across the entire crypto space. So that's something to keep in mind for the future. We have a lot of hurdles to overcome until then. Don't forget to subscribe, as I'll keep you updated on Litecoin, as well as various other cryptocurrencies and even other asset classes. I do have an educational series that's about to roll out very soon, so stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to like. Until next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.